Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Drag Race RHAP here on reality TV RHAPups. I'm your host, Liana Boraas, and we are here to talk about episode 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 14, and we will be touching on UK versus the world in what was, spoiler alert, a very shocking elimination similar to last week. So we'll be going through all of that nonsense here today, but I am not alone. You heard Amon's voice last week. Now he is not with us. He is celebrating his birthday weekend as he should. But this woman is feeling better and back with us today. It is a gust of wind. Beth Dixon. Beth, how are you?
I'm doing well. And last week, Amon said that I was fired, so I have to return the favor. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, how dare you celebrate your birthday?
Yeah, what the hell, Amon? This is so much more important than your whole life milestones, like whatever.
I know, right? Obviously, sacrifice yourself for us. We deserve it.
Come on, this is important. No, I'm doing super well. It was so sad to miss last week because there was so much that I wanted to talk about, especially with that Untucked episode with Jasmine coming out and Bosco coming out as non-binary. What we now know that Bosco has also come out as trans. So just so much beautiful energy from last week. And so I thought you guys covered it super, super well. But I was sad to not be here with you.
Well, I mean, we do talk a little bit about that in this episode. We have, what I would define as the more serious moments where, Jasmine is talking about that she didn't necessarily feel like she would have been equipped to lip sync because she has her very emotional moment. So, I don't know if there is anything that you want to say about that or about anything from the previous episode. Have at it. This is your soapbox.
This is my moment. No, I just honestly feel like at the end of the day, this is what I wish Drag Race would focus on when it comes to identity issues or things that come out a little bit more organically, right? Where girls are there to support each other. They feel like they're in a space where they can talk and share. And that's a huge, huge moment for someone like Jasmine, right? Who's literally for the first time saying the words out loud. And feels safe enough with the people around her who have maybe inspired her to come to terms with her gender identity and just having the opportunity to have a space that is still going to be televised live and I'm sure is going to be inspiring so many other people either with their own journeys or with seeing that representation. That's where I want to see Drag Race producing things. Now, obviously, I'm kind of sick of the overproduced drama, and I'm kind of thankful this season I don't see too much of that overproduced drama. We haven't really had too many major moments of that. And I really, really appreciated just all of how impactful that was for so many people. And so that's where I'm like, yes, Drag Race. That's for the representation that we want to see. That's great. And then this week, let's watch her and, Daya just kind of go after each other a little bit.
Well, that's the thing is that I was going to say about the manufactured drama is that from what I can tell, the Daya, Betty, Jasmine, Kennedy drama does not seem inherently manufactured, but maybe there are some top and bottom placements that might be spurred by this, drama. I don't know.
Keep them in the competition.
Yes,
for a little
exactly.
Longer.
Or maybe a win. I don't know.
I just think it's a little bit more Daya's going to be announced as the winner of this challenge. Let's pan over to Jasmine. And Jasmine's just looking there's nothing inherently shady. I'm but they're what we're checking here. I'm okay, camera angles. You don't need to be shady. They're not even being shady.
Yeah. I mean, we do get some of the confessionals. Jasmine, for last week, Jasmine was upset that she wasn't in the top because she didn't think that Daya deserved it. So, I think there's something there. And then we have the reading challenge this week, which we'll get into all the details for that. But the whole Daya's two-faced read. So I don't know. I feel to a certain extent, there's some type of drama there, but how much of that is spurred on by production that that we don't know.
Also, just we'll get to that. Never mind. I'll save my thoughts for the two-faced moment.
All right. Well, let's talk about the main meat of this episode, and that is the main challenge. So this week, the girls were tasked with writing their own lyrics as well as their own choreography in girl groups inspired by those from the 60s. So it was inspired by the Supremes, the Ronettes, and the Shangri-Las. So I personally, this is the type of music that I grew up listening to.
Oh, very
So
cool.
my mom, like, obsessed with the Supremes, the oldies radio stations, like 50s, 60s, which now it's like 90s music, which is really terrifying. But at the time, that was like what we had on all the time. So I was very excited for this episode. I thought also that it was a good opportunity to have the queens work within a structured framework, but still be able to generate a lot of the stuff themselves, right? They had to come up with their own choreo. They had to assign their own groups, which brought its own drama. And of course, they had to write their own lyrics and then perform it all together. So I just felt like this was a lot that was put on the queens, but in a good way, because we got to see what they were able to bring to the challenge.
Yeah, I love these challenges, especially because it gives you more of an insight as like their creative processes. Because I do think obviously what we're seeing when it comes to a runway oftentimes, unless it's a construction challenge, is just like, this is something they were able to put together, maybe with a team of people, maybe they sewed it themselves. I don't really know, but we don't see the process there. And we get to see glimpses of it a little bit better here, right? So they're not only writing lyrics, are they working together as a team writing lyrics? Are they writing lyrics individually? Then we have to see how well they've received feedback when they put themselves in a very vulnerable place of singing, which if you're a singer, not a big deal. You're like, okay, I'm so used to getting that feedback. But then if you're also not a dancer, then it's like there's so many things here that could easily get you in your head. Right. And so I think that that's what I love about these challenges, is because it brings the drama of the challenge to the forefront rather than necessarily like, individualized produced drama. Or you get the drama of how well are groups working together? Are individuals having their diva moment, especially in something like this with girl groups? There's a diva in every group. There's always going to be a diva in every group. There might be a diva in all three of them, or maybe divas. I don't know. So I love this kind of thing because I think this is exactly what's interesting to see their background.
Well, speaking of drama, what did you think about the fact that they were allowed to assign their own groups? Like, how was your feeling about all of that? Because, I mean, when Betty was like,
period.
Yeah. You can't falter. It's a competition, Yeah. Go for what you want.
I honestly feel like, I don't know. I know that people are like, oh my God, she's such a villain, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, she's a villain for putting herself first in the competition and staying true to that. Okay.
Oh, so villainy.
And she's such a villain. No, I'm not going to say that she's not shady. Of course she is. But I also think that like, in some of her confessionals, she'll, like, at least she owns up to it, right? Like, I don't like the people who are like, I didn't do that, or gaslighting people. She's not gaslighting people. She's not doing anything inherently wrong. She's just being competitive and standing up for what she wants, knowing that there are going to be other people who will say, okay, I'll do this instead. So like, why is that seen as shady and villainous?
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not like she was the only one who was putting her foot down. It was maybe the way that she was going about it that probably rubbed queens the wrong way, right? Because it's one thing to be like, no, I really want to do this. This is important to me. I'm willing to stand up for what I want, which is essentially what Willow did versus Daya that was like, no, I'm not changing. I'm not changing. So maybe that's how it's more an execution than the actual, like, what she was trying to accomplish. You know what I mean?
Totally. Delivery wise, a little much. It's a lot of emotion for choosing a part. But in terms of just being like the villain, like that's where I'm trying to sit back.
Oh, okay, in general. In general. The villain of the season.
Yeah. Okay. But to be honest, like I feel like this is a pretty kumbaya group. So you do have to like find like what are the moments where somebody could be like villainous and then like let's capitalize with, confessional moments and such. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like the villain edit helped her get a win this week too. Like if it wasn't for this arc that the producers are going, oh my gosh, we finally have a character arc that's going to be interesting to watch, then I don't think that she would have necessarily won.
I saw this comment it was either a tweet or it was on Reddit somewhere. It was like, Daya Betty has every storyline this season. She has like this underdog edit. She's got the villain edit. She's got like, the compared to a queen from previous seasons edit. It's like she's taken the brunt of every sort of stereotypical produced storyline that Drag Race likes to have. And I like that hit me. Oh, that's so true.
It tells me she's going to get 5th place.
I know, right?
Right? She's going to get the quote unquote robbed queen spot. She's
so
going to be the Katya. Well, except for she's not Katya. She's nowhere near Katya in terms of like, you know, I guess likability or something, which seems harsh, but you know what I mean.
It's hard to be like very few queens are as likable as Katya. You know what I mean? Like 10 out of 10 approval rating for her. So it's hard.
That is true though. We should be making like a diabetic bingo card. Be like, okay, free space is, and then you have like
exactly like overlooked in challenge. Check.
Yeah.
Wins challenge maybe doesn't deserve to upset other queens. Check.
Oh my God. Is safe 7 times in a row. Check.
Yeah, check. Is sent home and brought back. Check. Like
check.
That's what I'm saying. You know what? Which also I 100% forgot about the fact, because the way that she was talking about being safe, overlooked, I had that flashback to the moment where she was safe right after having been brought back. She's like, I'm just so thankful to be here that I was like not sent home.
The energy was
so
lost.
Thankful to be safe. Yeah, that went right out the window.
Oh my gosh.
A little bit of memory loss there. Take your ginkgo biloba. Okay. So let's get into the main challenge. Yeah. So as we talked about, there was the dramas. The girls were assigning what groups they wanted to be a part of. So we had Daya get her wish as part of the Shangri-Las. So instead of the Shangri-Las, their song is Bad Boy Baby, and it was Daya, Betty, Willow, and Bosco. Mm-hmm. And then you had the Ronettes parody, the Runettes, and that was doing the song He's My Baby with Georges, Jasmine Kennedy, and Deja, who ultimately ends up being the one who switches over from the Shangri-Las. So, you know, good on Deja. And then last, you have the Super Duper RuPreams, the parody of the Supremes with Angeria, Lady Camden, and Carrie Colby doing Baby Is Love. Mm-hmm. So I felt like overall, the queens did a really good job. So I think that it's tough when we're talking about who's in the tops and bottoms. However, for who was in the top, I very strongly feel, and this could be absolutely biased, Angeria knocked this out of the park.
Thank you.
From the moment she was like, yes, I would like the Supremes. I have done Diana Ross before. I know how to do this. To the second she started singing with Michelle, I was like, oh, this is hers. She nailed it. I thought she nailed this challenge. I in my brain, I was like, there's no way anybody else is going to win. So naturally, I was very shocked when Daya Betty was announced the winner of the challenge.
I'm so with you. And I honestly think the reason why she didn't win was because RuPaul liked Daya Betty's outfit more. I think that's what it came down to.
That's fair.
I just like, and that's the thing, like, I personally didn't really care for Angeria's runway either. Yeah. I liked elements of it, but didn't really like the execution, especially for the challenge it was. But in terms of the challenge itself, it was clearly Angeria, significant gap. And then I don't believe Deja should have been in the top. I think Deja was safe. And Bosco should have been in the top, in my opinion. And it should have been Bosco. And I'm actually fine with Daya being in the top. I do think she did a great job. But Angeria, significant gap. Those two, safe queens. And then bottom. I don't know. The bottom was also weird.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the other thing too, is that I felt like I totally agree. I felt like it was Angeria, gap. Others, gap. Kennedy?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Jasmine,
was the clear bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Because I could definitely tell, which even though she is a dancer, I totally agreed with a lot of the critiques that she felt like she was really out of it. I felt like I could see her looking around. And even when the queens were, so the main group is performing, and then they have the pit crew backup dancers right behind them. But then on either side are the other two girl groups that are doing choreo as well, which seemed to be simple, whatever. It felt like Jasmine was even looking around and looking confused when she was in the background. Yes. So like my eye kept being drawn to her, but for the wrong reasons. And so to me, she was the one who was like, clearly, I had like one clear bottom, one clear top. And then to me, honestly, I think you could have made an argument for any one of the other girls.
100%.
But what do you think about the Carrie critiques? Because once they showed the clips and they pointed it out that it was more church lady and it didn't really get the vibe of the Supremes, that I understood. But when I was watching the challenge, at least initially, I didn't think anything was like necessarily wrong with her performance.
I agree with that. I think that's when they were like, it was too going to church, and I wanted to be like, well, that's exactly what she said she wanted to go for. So
But
I
yeah,
guess,
that's it.
ugh.
So it's
But
just the
it's
wrong
interesting.
choice.
Like, did that not just come up to like? Did she not bring that up to Michelle when she was working? Because that would have been an opportunity for Michelle to be like, "This isn't a church challenge. This is, you know." And then if she still continued to do that, like we've seen queens do, then I get the critique. But it's not like she was like stamping her foot and really, you know, like going to town. I mean, it was one moment where she kind of like went like this, kind of bobbed her body. But like other than that, I was like, okay, it's really not that over the top. Also, this is RuPaul's Drag Race. How many times do you want people to go over the top? And now you're like, you were over the top. It was
Too
more
much.
church. I'm like, okay. But I will say that outfit she needed to be in the bottom for that outfit.
Yeah. So maybe now that you're talking about it, because you mentioned Jangeria's look as well, that maybe it was like, well, they all did, so similar that it was really the runway that came down to breaking the tie. Because I agree with that. I thought that her runway, the fact that you can just see, like, you just focus on the panty lines, and it was a dark color also.
I just was like, girl, you know that it's like there's holes in your outfit. Like we can see where the waistline of the panty is. Like, come on. It was just like, that was such a detail that needed to be addressed and clearly wasn't. And so that was unfortunate.
So the category for the runway was heart on, which I thought was cute. I love that. And Carson's critique of Angeria she took it I think it was Carson who's like, she took it very literally.
Very literally. A heart on her chest.
Which definitely looked like she had that costume for something else. And then she just stuck that on there because there was nothing else really that went with it for Angeria.
Right.
So I would say hers was not necessarily the best. Carrie's gave me a heart attack. Deja's I also was not.
Deja's was not cute. Like I love elements of it. Yeah, I like the idea, but I just don't think the execution was great. And I will say this too, that it's refreshing to see a bigger queen in that more latex like material, because that is very hard to pull off for literally anybody, but like especially when you're a bigger person with curves and such, that could be really hard to fit to it. So I like the way that she did it, where it wasn't necessarily super fitted, but it also gave a sense of flow. So like there were elements that I appreciated there. It just didn't come together. I also didn't like Lady Camden. Her like Cupid being shot, the arrows were like flopping around and was like really distracting. I didn't really like the sandal going all the way up the leg. I just, that was also another one where I was like, execution wise didn't meet what I had hoped for something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy that you brought up Lady Camden, because I also agree. I feel like the look was not the heart was too big. It was just way too big.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do Cupid, where's your bow? Did you have a bow? No, she didn't have a bow, right?
No.
I guess she got shot by Cupid was the point, maybe?
She was like, I was shot with my own arrows. And I'm like, by who?
Yeah, where's the bow? Did you just like stab yourself? I don't know. Where's the bow?
I was shot with my own arrows. And by shot, I mean stabbed. And I went like this. Owie.
Ow.
Like twice.
And then she turned into the Grinch because her heart grew 3 sizes that day. Like, I don't really understand why it's so big. So, I definitely, this was not my favorite. But I also didn't think that she did that bad in the challenge.
No, she should have been safe, I think. I really feel like she should have been safe. And I could have seen Georges in the bottom. I could have seen who's the other person? Who were the other ones who were safe? Bosco should have been in the top. I'm putting that out there. Like,
if you remove Deja, you put Bosco, and then you take out Lady Camden, do you put Georges?
Maybe, or, you know, I'm going to be honest, I also felt like Deja could have been in the bottom too.
I was so confused. That's what I'm saying. And that's why now I'm confused with the look, because I was like, I thought she was in the bottom. Oh, no, wait, she's not in the bottom. She was in the top.
No, she was in the top.
Right? Okay. Like, my brain is all scrambled. But that's the thing is like, this group is so close in talent, right? So it's hard. It's like getting hard in my brain for me to differentiate. I would say with Georges, like, I don't think she necessarily did that bad in the challenge necessarily, although her singing was not the best, but she didn't stand out to me for the, for the wrong reasons. But the runway look, to do a bra and panties look again, and to not have been read for it yet. She was just born to do drag, so it's fine, I guess.
But also, why are you wearing nude sandals with an all red outfit? Why aren't they red? It should be red. If everything, oh God, there was just like so much that I was like, okay, this needs to be in the bottom. She's wearing a bra and panty again. This isn't revolutionary. Like, I understand the heart. I think it's a cool outfit. Don't get me wrong. If she came out in a club like that, I'd be throwing bills at her.
Right.
But not on the stage of RuPaul's Drag Race when it's very similar to so many things you've already worn and done. Like, I think,
that's the thing.
Critique that other people are getting is like Deja. They were like, you know what? It wasn't a good outfit, but we liked that it was something different for her. When are you going to say that to Georges? Bosco gives something every single week that's very different. You don't know what you're going to expect. Lady Camden plays around with like the ideas of things. Like, there's something that people are doing, but first of all, Jasmine's going to come out with the Alyssa Edwards hair. You know that that's going to be something that she does. Am I wrong? Does she not look like Alyssa Edwards? Like with that hair?
Yeah, it is. It's very much that.
And then that like Georges is going to come out in like not necessarily a bra and panty look. I'm not saying that, but like something that's just going to show a lot of like that kind of swimsuit bra panty kind of outline. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of favoritism for her. And don't get me wrong, I love Georges. And I actually think when Michelle said, should we talk it out? I love the way that she did the talking for her entire song. I actually was fine with that. It worked fine. But then I thought it was really funny and Untalked. She was like, Jasmine was really struggling with the singing. I was like, girl. Pot calling the kettle black much? Like, but you know what? The difference there is that Georges worked it out. So that's why I can see her being safe. But if the looks maybe are the thing that got people in the bottom, I feel like maybe she should have been there to get that critique.
So these were her looks. Let me see if I can zoom in from the past few weeks. So the Glamazon, no. Let's go to the one from last week. So Chaps on the Runway.
Bra panty.
Yeah, bra and panty. The Glamazon, the one that they had to create the looks from unconventional materials, is essentially a swimsuit. It's a bra and panties.
With no. There is a piece of fabric there too.
Right, of course. Yeah, sorry.
And there's a few cookie cutters.
And well-placed cookie cutters at that.
That's right.
She's got this cute little flower dress on. Love that. Not a bra and panties. Okay, get it, girl. Then she has the bodysuit, which, because there's the nude illusion on the legs, also looks like it could be a swimsuit / bra and panties. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The red, white, and blue. Here's only 2 of the looks. I don't know how to find the third, but those look fine. Although I will say the top is like a swimsuit top. Fine.
I still can't get over how that dress kind of looks like a Confederate flag, though, to me.
Does it really? No.
I think it does.
Oh, it does kind of. It's the X. It's like this X thing.
I just sat back and I was like, oh, choices.
Color blocks. Yeah. I don't think it's close enough, but. And again, like a bodysuit. Okay, maybe it's not as bad as we're making it out to seem. But I will say that, like, if you're gonna read, who am I thinking of? Vanjie. If you're gonna read Vanjie for that, I feel like this is somewhat similar, at least enough for my.
If you're gonna tell Courtney, stop relying on that body.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. Now, someone who Amon and I didn't talk about her look last week, which we probably should have because it was stunning. But Willow Pill's look this week, the panties all over, I thought was so funny. And for some reason, I thought it also worked with the heart on panties, heart on.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then she was like, the top one is the Borat thong.
She's like, my top thong. And as soon as I heard top thong, I was like, that's a new phrase. That's
a new phrase. Not a top thong. And so she's just so cute when she was like shuffling down the runway, showing it off. So I love
she's
these.
Somebody that, again, like, you don't know what she's going to bring on the runway, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be quirky, but it's going to be fashion, but it's also going to be a little stupid. And that's what I love about her. And that's what's so interesting. And that's what I guess I'm saying is, like, if we're going to split hairs with things, maybe Georgia should have been in the bottom for purely bra panty look.
Now, the difference here is that Willow Pill had like 8 bras and panties. So there you go.
Like how we were like, yes,
no bras and panties, no bras and panties. And then Willow Pill.
Fair, she was just panties.
there was no bra.
Like pasties and
that's the key. That's the key this week. Yeah, it's tough. I think in Untucked, was it in Untucked this week when they were talking about who they think is in the top? Because it was the safe queens talking about how, well, Angeria is clearly the top.
They're like, Angeria clearly won.
Yeah.
And then they were like, I could see Deja in the bottom, and then Deja's in the top, and I was like, ugh, girl, we all saw that too.
Right. So Angeria. So if I'm picking a top 4, thinking that there's top slots, I'm thinking Angeria for sure still, even though I think she got looked over in this challenge. To me, Willow, even though, wasn't in the top this week, she's just so good at so many things. And this week when she was talking about, oh yeah, I've done choreography before, I can dance, but kept those cards very close to her vest. I was impressed.
I loved it. And all the girls were like a little gooped and gagged, and I was here for it.
I know. I mean, she knows the key to happiness is low expectations. So set those expectations low for the judges, and then, you'll be good to go. I feel like Bosco is another queen who just has that confidence that even though, again, she was safe this week, I think you could make an argument that she was in the top. She's bringing it on the runway. After those 2 like horn looks right at the beginning, she's stayed away from that and has brought something else. So I think that has been good. And then that 4th slot it's
up for grabs. I feel like.
I would personally put Lady Camden, but I don't know if the show would put Lady Camden there because to me, I've been surprised by her and she's been growing on me these past couple weeks, but who knows what the producers are thinking.
I'm so with you. I do believe that the top 3, well, it's for me, it's like a clear front runner of Angeria, with Willow being the clear front runner up. I don't know.
Runner up. Yeah.
And then I do feel like Bosco isn't getting anything really negative for critiques, but it's often safe. But I often think Bosco should be in the top more than Bosco is. Like there have been a few times where she's been safe, where I was like, I don't know, like I might have put her in the top for the construction challenge where she like made like a paint tarp into a pantsuit, like stuff like that.
Yes.
That I'm like, she's clearly has some skill here, and she can read the room, and she's smart, and she understands things. So I definitely see her there. For me, it's kind of like, do they go Lady Camden route, where if Lady Camden is able to continually produce what she did last week, which by the way, I didn't get to comment this, that runway is my favorite thing that's ever happened on the show.
When Amon told me he missed it, I was like, how dare you? I'm personally
was he at a bar again? Amon!
Yeah. But like, I get it. It's one of those things where you look away for 1 second, and which everybody does when they're watching a TV show, but still, it's like, it was so iconic.
It was so good. And it had nothing, I mean, like, believe me, this was a moment where you were like, drag can touch so many senses at one time. The thud that I heard, I was like, she just broke her whole face. That's what just happened. And I love that not a single judge moved. They were like, oh no, is she okay? Like, send someone over there to see if she's good, kind of thing. It was just so funny. And then she's just like, hey, Freddie Mercury. Oh, so good. It's my favorite reveal that's ever happened. But anyway, so if she can bring that kind of energy, then I absolutely think that she owns that 4th spot. But editing RuPaul favoritism wise could be Georges, could be Daya with this whole thing. But I really think that I feel like Daya's going to get that Rob Queen just because they want to milk that at the reunion. Like I know that that's what they'll be like. After being safe for so long and then getting a few wins underneath your belt, how do you feel that, the end of the competition worked for you? I could just see that being something that they want to make a drama point. So I kind of feel like, I think Lady Camden makes the most sense, but I could also see RuPaul's favoritism for Georges coming through there too.
Yeah, that's possible. And things can always change. We're on episode 8. 14 episodes in the season, just past the halfway mark, essentially. So there's definitely still room for things to change. But this episode is set in stone. And unfortunately, we get Carrie and Jasmine Kennedy in the bottom two. I ultimately do think that that was the right decision. As soon as it was announced, my heart went out to Carrie because we do know that Jasmine can turn it in a lip sync.
Yes.
And this lip sync was Toni Braxton, Unbreak My Heart, which I thought was not that song was a bad choice, but
I hated the remix.
Oh, well, yes, that was a bad choice.
I was like, could we just do the normal Unbreak My Heart? Why does it have to be like
yeah,
like,
no, I don't. That I did not understand. But what I was 100% expecting, which I thought maybe Carrie has a chance here, is it would be something along the lines of, we just did a girl group challenge from the 60s. And you have done this before. Like, you've picked Aretha Franklin songs before. And you're telling me that we can't pick a Supreme song. You're telling me we can't pick. Like, so it was a very odd choice. I don't know how they plan the lip sync songs, but I just really felt like they were going to do something from that era that was much more, you know, the "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman" kind of moment. Right. But instead, you know, we got the Toni Braxton song.
I'm very convinced that unless the artist is there in person, they just kind of have like, these are the lip sync songs, and they put them on a dartboard and they just kind of like throw them per week. Okay, this is the one. This is the one this week. This one now. Because that made no sense. I'm totally with you. Let's normalize having the lip sync song match the theme for the week.
Yeah, it's just fun. I just like it when things match, you know what I mean? So I just need that synergy in my life, which they've done absolutely before. So I don't understand why sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no, but fine.
It really was the only thing that could have been probably more opposite than that is if they had done like "Let Me Blow Your Mind" or something like that from like Eve and Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what is the antithesis of, you know, these 60s icons.
Which,
right?
by the way, "Let Me Blow Your Mind" should be a lip sync song. I'm just putting it out.
Has it not been a lip sync song yet?
I don't think so. Don't you think it would be so good?
Oh,
you have
for sure.
Amazing artists. Like, okay.
Yeah, it would be iconic.
Also, "The Boy Is Mine" should be one. I want the two girls to be like Brandy and Monica, just out there.
Just going for it. Yeah, that's a thing. There's so many iconic songs that we haven't had on Drag Race yet that need to be chosen. But hopefully, it seems like the show is going strong in a million different countries. So at some point, I'm sure statistically,
every
right?
Song
exactly. We're just gonna have to get there, right? So
I did once tweet Michelle Visage. I was like, "Here's the list of songs y'all need to put on the show," and she responded, like retweeted it, and she was like, "These are all amazing." I'm like, "I fucking know. Make me a producer. Thank you."
There you go. I'd like a producer credit on this episode. Thank you. All right. Well, what did you think of the lip sync? Do you think that Alyssa Edwards? I'm sorry, I mean,
well, she almost wasn't Alyssa Edwards because that wig almost fell right off.
I know.
You know what I loved about it? I loved that when she kicked the shoe off, she didn't make a big deal of it, just kept moving and just worked it. And I think
she stood up. Right? So she, instead of having like a foot flat, a foot in heels, she elevated. So I actually didn't even notice that she was missing a shoe at first. It was until the confessional. I was like, oh, because she's moving. Like her shoe did not fall off.
It was amazing. I think that to me showed the performance professionalism that she has, which is like, show must go on. I'm going to do what I can. I'm still going to make it look good. And that can send you home or it can keep you there. And I think that was one of the things that edged her out. I think that Carrie's biggest issue was her makeup. Her makeup had that really dark vibe that really made it hard for me to understand what emotion she was giving. And I think that ended up being something that worked against her and being able to emote a little bit for this. But it's also, how do you emote Unbreak My Heart to a freaking techno beat? Like, stop. If it had just been the normal Unbreak My Heart, which I sing all the time, by the way. I will be in my shower and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what really gets me right now? Unbreak my heart. I just get right into it. And I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I also, there was a bit of me that was thinking, well, maybe Carrie will survive this because I thought Jasmine did by far the worst in the challenge. Maybe it would like carry over to the lip sync. And also because, you know, sometimes the producers will have a person give their trauma and then cut them from the episode because it's like, we got to get their story out there before they go home. But Carrie, it feels like every week has had some type of emotional moment about how she was kicked out, what it was like for this week, for example. She was talking about how she wasn't allowed to listen to any sort of non-secular music. That just wasn't allowed. And so it was a lot about her upbringing. And I felt like that was consistent from week to week. So every time I was like, oh no, she's giving a personal story. She's going home. She would be totally fine. Oh no, she's giving a personal story. She's going home. She'd be totally fine. So
fake out.
I didn't even, yeah, exactly. It's like Boy Who Cried Wolf, but the reverse somehow. I didn't even blink an eye this week, and then thought, oh no, this might actually be her time to leave. So, I'm happy that we were able to get the elements of her story, but it is sad to see her go.
It's really sad. I do agree that I don't think that she's been the strongest in the competition. I've seen this tweeted a few times, and I completely agree with this assessment. I see people saying, I think that she's the type of queen that did like a mediocre run on her original season, but when she comes back for All-Stars, because she will be asked for All-Stars, she's going to kill it. And I completely agree. I think that she's somebody who just like needed the platform and the growth and honestly a little bit more money and was going to be able to just go out there. I say that. She has a friend who gave her a Versace dress from like the dress. So
the J-Lo dress.
So, okay. But I do think that I think that she's going to be someone who really grows from this and is able to go, oh, okay, this is how you have teeth in the competition when she gets back.
And Carrie is someone also that I started noticing, and I saw it here in this episode as well, that she just has so much confidence, but then there seems to be a little bit of performance anxiety, because even with the singing, when she was just singing either in confessionals, in the workroom, or even just demonstrating for Michelle before she got on the mic, it was so good. And then a lot of that got lost when she actually hopped on the microphone. So yeah, I do wonder if there's just an element of confidence there, that even though she does come across as very confident, that it doesn't necessarily translate into the challenges. And I think that's something that will come from experience. She's going to see how well received she was on this season. So totally think that all of that would fit into what you're saying about a return on an All-Star season.
I also just think, too, that contextually, we have to remember that some of these queens haven't really been able to perform for the past 2 years, or at least do so in a way that really gives them immediate feedback that's not on Zoom or something. And so I think that that loss of, first of all, income, but like mostly the ability to feed off of an audience is a huge element in building your confidence as a performer. And so, yeah, that's why when we say like, oh, Instagram queens aren't that great, it's not because they're not great queens. It's because they may not have that lived experience where they can go and exchange energy with the audience and know how to grow and improve.
Yeah, I mean, it's Drag Race tests a specific skill set, but also a very well-rounded skill set. You need to be able to do a lot of different things, at least semi-competently, but you don't need to necessarily be the best at everything. And so it is this weird niche set of skills that you have to be able to really excel at. Okay, I do want to mention that Rue looked stunning in the gold. That was so good.
Did you notice it was an ever so faint heart in the middle?
No, that makes it even better.
I watched it because I always am like, I wish that RuPaul would like match whatever the runway theme is to a certain level. It doesn't have to be like the exact thing. I noticed upon a second watch that the fringe made an ever so faint heart on the chest.
Oh yeah, the way that it's cut. I'm trying to get a shot where her arms aren't covering it, but yeah, it is. It's cut with like a.
I know that's the other thing. That she's like.
And then she holds
the
her
queens this week are, and I'm like, no, stop it. Uncover your heart.
Oh gosh. All right. Let's see. What else do we have to talk about this episode? The mini challenge. So we got the reading challenge this week. I was laughing like nonstop.
They were all decent.
What? I know. I know. I was gagged. Is that bad? Is that bad? That I was just like, wait, they're all funny?
It shows the level of like how even this cast is, that even in a reading challenge, which traditionally has one person who is a big flop, if not multiple, and one person who really truly outshines. I mean, I agree with the Bosco win, but I don't necessarily think that Bosco was like heads and, what shoulders. Is it? Heads
and tails above everybody else.
Heads and tails above
no, heads and shoulders. Two favorite body parts. We'll just make new sayings. Like fingers and toes above everybody else.
Eyelashes and noses. But she I feel like she did really well, but here's the thing. I think they all were very, very similar in terms of how they delivered, right? That said, even though I thought they were good, I wasn't like, oh, this is the best reading challenge of all time. Like, I don't think there was a single read that I really was like, oh, that's amazing, or that I hadn't heard before. Like the Bosco one about carrying RuPaul down the runway so that she could let you down one more time, or like they could let her down one more time.
Yeah.
That I've heard like multiple times. But it's still effective, and so I still laughed.
Right. I would agree with that. I thought that, some reads I had heard before, especially Bosco's. I really liked Lady Camden, and I'm happy that while she didn't win, she got a nod from RuPaul, because Lady Camden's all kind of followed that same structural rhythm of you just have the tiniest little waist of time, right? Like it's all that same structure, the face of a star. For podcasting, which
I literally went, ooh,
that's
I just was read to film.
And then the one
video podcast, was that different?
Yeah, is that different if it's a video podcast? Oh, please help. Anyway, the little dame, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, that one also so funny. So I was really laughing at Lady Camden's. I thought that those were great. But who was it that said you put the bottom in lobotomy? That one
was Bosco.
That was Bosco's. Okay, yeah, maybe
Bosco
that's the reason why she deserved to win. Yeah, I
thought that was great. I thought she said you put the bottom in bottoming, and I was like, I don't get that. And then I had to watch it a second time and go, okay, I get it.
Okay, I got it. The Georgis's line about Jasmine, which Georgis, okay, look, yes, I'm gonna prejudge here, but I was like, ooh, are her reads necessarily gonna be funny? You're the definition of white do crack.
I died. That was so good. Again, I think that's what made this one a stronger reading challenge, was that I think that everybody who you were like, I don't know if you're going to do well at this, ended up really pulling through with some pretty decent ones. So I just thought it was overall a really good one.
I agree. Speaking of white, it was the confessional with Angeria that
was 2 white feet.
Yeah. I got 2 white feet. Did you say white feet? No, right feet. But Black people have more rhythm than I do, so I might have 2 white feet. That's such a good saying. I think we need to incorporate this into our everyday vernacular.
That and heads and tails above everybody else.
And heads and tails.
I really, what was the one that Jocelyn Fox said? Oh, I intend on being the black horse in the competition.
Yeah.
You mean dark horse?
Dark horse.
Oh, it is dark horse.
Yeah.
Wait, I just thought of something about Jasmine in the challenge. I was actually so distracted that I couldn't tell how well she was doing because her breastplate was bouncing around like no other. I was so distracted. I was like, girl, you need a bra. Like,
so it was that and something about the fit of the outfits that made hers just like fabric moving everywhere that was very distracting. So
listen,
yes.
As a woman with tatas that like to bounce around, I would suggest a nice bra that is supportive and lifts. No, that was like, I honestly, the second time I watched the episode, I was like, I need to like actually not focus on her boobs. The first time I was like, they're really like, they were all like, they weren't even jumping together. They were off in their own world, which happens. I get that. It's a whole thing. But I was like, oh, Jasmine, you're in the bottom because your boobies were flying.
Can you imagine that being the reason? And then when it's like, Jasmine, your boobies were flying, but you were not.
Yeah. Also, RuPaul gave the same joke twice in a row. You just didn't have any spice, girl. You just weren't a dream, girl. I was like, yeah, you just said that. Just like you just switched which girl group it was.
Look, the writers were busy that day. Okay.
Clearly.
Oh man, the fact that it allowed so for context, I work at the Yale Cardiovascular Research Center, so all of the cardiology jokes were really funny, mostly from Carson, but the I own the entire cardiology department, or, like, this is reminding me to take my Lipitor, all of those jokes.
Aorta. What was the one about? They had two about aorta, right?
The aorta. Yeah.
Aorta,
yeah, those were all, like, I don't know how niche that humor is.
No, it was pretty good. I will say my other favorite part was they go, so to Carrie, your dress is supposed to be blood vessels, right? Arteries. I'm like, arteries are blood vessels.
Yeah. That's blood vessels contain. It's a subtype. It's good. It's
great.
Good
science.
Job. Yep.
Yes.
Let's go science.
Here we are.
Okay. What else from this episode? What else, Beth?
The Two-Faced. I don't think we didn't cover the Two-Faced thing.
Yes, and you have something to say about that. So, Two-Faced, go for it. Oh, great. Well, see, that's why you say it when you say it, or you gotta write it down.
I know. I just
the conversation like in the workroom, or the read, or Untalked, or
it was. I think I just generally was gonna. I don't remember. It was a comment. It probably wasn't that amazing, to be perfectly honest. I can comment on the online what it was afterwards, but I just honestly, I do think that Daya saying like, yeah, I said it. I was like, okay, there we go. That doesn't really make you Two-Faced now.
Yeah, exactly, and
might make you a little bitch, but that's okay.
Yeah, I feel like they've had so many confrontations that I can't remember what was said behind someone's back and what was said to their face. Because also theoretically, what Jasmine Kennedy was saying about how, well, Daya doesn't deserve to be in the top. Well, then say that to her face. I don't know. It's just there's been so much back and forth between them that also they're just beefing.
Oh, this is what I was gonna say. It was a question. Who do you think spilled that to Jasmine that Daya said that?
Okay, it was, you were talking with Georges, was I think what was said. So I was like, well, then was it Georges, or was it someone who overheard and then told Jasmine?
It was a producer. I thought it would be like,
ooh, you think so? Maybe.
I felt like it was like, okay, we've struck gold, and by gold we mean like pyrite, and we need to, because it's very cheapened drama, but like let's try to flesh this out in the like confessional or something, being like, so did you hear that Daya thought that blah blah blah. That's what I think.
It could be one of the situations that they do with Big Brother where they ask leading questions that they're not telling them what's happening, but it's like, so have you heard Daya speaking about you behind your back? Like those types of things.
I would sit there. That's the role I want. That's the job I want. I want to be the producer that interviews people for confessionals in both Big Brother and in could you imagine me as a Big Brother person? I'm like, I'm not going to give anything away, but if you see me drink out of the straw. So, what do you think about Liana in the house? Like, that's
do you
what I
feel bad about her for any reason? Do you feel like she is a person who would double cross you?
Do you think that she's trustworthy?
This is honestly similarities between reality TV producers and lawyers. Leading the witness.
Objection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So this was fun. Overall, I had fun. We got Carrie eliminated. The return of the evil chocolate. It is just chocolate. And Carrie is sent home. So sad to see her go, but it is nice after last week to have a non-elimination to move forward in the competition. And the gold chocolate bar is still in the game.
Who do you think has it? If it's like truly like the queen has it, who do you think it is?
Like, you think if it's not produced and someone just has it and they randomly chose it, then I have no idea.
I guess that's a stupid question.
If it's random, there's no logic behind me like logicking it through of trying to figure it out. If it is produced, then I think it could be like an Angeria that for some reason gets stuck in the bottom but gets saved. Something like that. I think it's going to be shocking. If it's Diabetes, I would laugh. That would be hilarious because it's like she went home and then got saved and then like got saved.
It's had this whole drama and got saved again. Yeah.
Like, again, consistent with the Diabetes gets every storyline in the season.
Yeah. that tracks. Right? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, even if it's not rigged, I feel like Daya has the job.
Just because that's how this universe is working right now. Makes sense.
Oh my God. Or it's Jasmine.
I could see that as well.
The person who probably should be going home. Get some chocolate.
Georges, perhaps. It's because
Georges has the RuPaul favorite
drag. Yeah, exactly. The RuPaul.
I would say
drawn to the candy bar.
Confidently, the one person who I don't think would be given the bar from production, is Deja.
Okay, so Deja has it. Got it. Write that down.
Okay, I'm saying this confidently. Beth's wrong. Can't wait for like next week or something. It's like, oh, it was revealed.
Can't wait.
Call me out.
Find out. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that does it for us talking about season 14. We are going to be talking about UK versus the world. But first, Beth, what plugs you have? What do you have going on? Where can people find you on social media? All that good stuff.
You can find me at AugustaWind11 on all my social media sites, including my Twitch channel. And I'm still doing my weekly meltdown over on our YouTube channel, as well as Hot Mess Moments. We're about to start season 3 of The Nanny in Lost. I'm very excited. Apparently season 3 is a big premiere for Lost. So I can't wait to have my mind blown. Let me blow your mind. Now I'm going to have all this stuff.
A great song choice. Would be great. I'm putting it out there again. All right. And you can find me on Twitter at Liana, RHAP. I was on the Big Brother Slop covering everything from Celebrity Big Brother, which, speaking of Celebrity Big Brother, so I watched on VH1, like the online version, so I don't get a lot of the commercials, but apparently there was a Todrick commercial. I don't know if you saw that, because I saw a lot of people commenting about it online. Somebody on Twitter said, or on Reddit, I think it was like, if they don't get Flopdrick off my screen. That's so funny. So very timely. Thank you for that. And then I will be back in the next week with Mike Bloom. We're going to start our preseason Survivor coverage for season 42. So we're going to do a preseason coverage for the B&B, and then I will also be on the Survivor 42 draft, which will be coming up in about a week's time as well. All right. Let's jump into UK versus the world. Now, Beth, you are here to talk about both last week's episode as well as this week's episode, which essentially was the 2 front runners getting eliminated back to back with Jimbo and now Pangina. Go.
I mean, like, I was gagged and I was heartbroken both weeks, but I will say this. I love that the girls are playing the game. I love it. But you know what I don't love? Just own it. I think Blue will own it.
She had an Instagram post that came out that was, she was holding the lipsticks, and the lipsticks said, it was like a series of photos in the outfit that she was wearing that night. And it said, "Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama." So, and it was like a series of photos with that. So I do think there's an element of owning it. And then there was also a photo that I saw on Reddit that was all of the queens that had eliminated someone iconic had a photo shoot or something, or maybe someone had just edited their photos together. I don't know. But I do feel that Blue is going to own it.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like I can't fault people for that. I would also want to take out the largest part of the competition. And I'm going to put it out there. I understand wanting to be with the other people who are like front runners and like be best the best. That's not what this competition is about. If it was best of the best, it'd be a normal thing where RuPaul was eliminating people, because it's RuPaul's Drag Race. It's not, it's his version of the best, right? If you want to beat the best of the best, that's admirable. I'm not that girl. I want to have a smooth sail to the end to win. So if I have the moment, I will eliminate. And yes, I know that makes me a threat and people will eliminate me. But you know what? If I make it to the end that way, then that proves I played the game and I was strong.
I think that this episode in particular, and we had to deal with it a little bit with the Manila episode, which was the dichotomy between wanting the drama and wanting that, and wanting queens to play the game and to do exactly what you're talking about, which is get themselves further, be diabetic, be self-interested, send the front runner home, and what is the best drag on our television screen.
Yep.
Because I will say, while I love the queens remaining, I am devastated to not see what Pangina is going to bring next week, to see what Jimbo would have brought this week to snatch game. So as a reality TV viewer, I feel like I'm caught in the middle between I want both. Like I want the drama and I want to cut the fan faves. I want to cut the winners, but I also want to see the best drag and I want to see the queens who are excelling the best at the competition move forward. And I feel like this season has really made me confront that. And I'm very confused. My therapist will be hearing about this week because it brings up a lot of emotions.
I will say something though. I don't agree with Jimbo's critiques last week of being in the bottom. I don't agree with a lot of those. They were like, yeah, you were a dog. I'm like, well, then don't write a friggin' part that's a dog. Like, I don't get it. Like, that's like.
She wasn't enough dog.
She wasn't enough. I was like, something. I was like, yeah, her outfit was a little raggedy. But like, you know, like, I didn't necessarily agree with all of that. And I thought that her runway proved that they loved her runway. So they were like, oh, well, she had the harshest critiques. I was like, no. Juju had the harshest critiques of both the outfit and the performance. So I just kind of felt like the excuse that Pangina was giving, which was, I went for the person with the harshest critiques, was unfounded. So there's that. When you get to this episode, I think Pangina and Janie were the weakest ones in the competition. Like they very clearly didn't do well this week. So even if you were going off of critiques from this runway or from this episode, I would have gone with Pangina or with Janie. And if you have the opportunity to get the one who has a couple RuPeter badges out and there's a legitimate reason for it, why wouldn't you? So I understand that. No, but I'm totally with you. I want to see the people who are bringing really interesting best of the world drag. I want to see this Thailand host who is like being a first-time competitor come and slay the competition. That's why for me it hurts even more than seeing Jimbo go. Jimbo last week I was like, oh my God, that's so shocking. This week it hurt.
Well, but she was hurt also.
Which I understand. There was a lot of pressure on her, and I understand that. But at the same time, your attitude to cutting Jimbo last week, and then this is how you're reacting, I was like, that's a little hypocritical.
Yeah. I was devastated for her, but the editors are savage with them putting her crying over RuPaul being like, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love yourself? Sobbing in the background. If you can't love yourself.
Did you see? And also with Blue just shaking.
Blue's face, it was like, she was like, obviously she knew she had to do it, but then once she pulled it up and it, you know, because sometimes when you have to confront somebody about something and your mouth like, oh, it's okay, let's talk about it, versus like, they're so upset, you just sort of like, oh my God, I fucked up. Like, what did I do? No.
But you know what? At the end of the day, I know this wasn't what Pangina was doing, but also like, what a way to help get into the head of the person who cut you out of the competition. Really great.
Talk about manipulation, emotional manipulation.
I know that's not what she was doing. I'm not saying that at home. But I will say this, though. I don't know if you saw this. RuPaul was on the Graham Norton show this week, and they showed the elimination, which they were like, so this is what happened this week. And I was just like, first of all, I love that they said this aired like 2 days ago. Let's show it. Like as if like no spoiler warning. Just like, here's what happened with the elimination. And Benedict Cumberbatch was also on the show, who I think actually does watch Drag Race.
Okay. All right.
But he was like on the show and he was like, this is just like dirty tactics. And I just was like, oh shit. And then I saw a tweet that Cheryl Hole was like, oh my God, does this mean Benedict knows who I am? Somebody was Silver like, lining. No, he watched this episode. And I was like, oh.
Oof, poor Cheryl. Yeah. I still don't. I wish I had sort of a concrete stance that I could take on how I felt about the whole thing. I think ultimately I want to see how the rest of the season pans out, but Pangina's out. But
who do you think are the front runners now?
If I have to see another week of Juju doing incredibly mediocre with those outfits, I swear to God, like obviously not her. Is it Mo? Is it
Janie?
Blue?
Let's just name the cast. I have to say this. I liked Baga on her original season. I'm over her. I'm just so over her.
Yeah.
What is this whole diva? I don't want to do anything attitude. And it's like, that is also a favoritism. She should have been in the bottom for the past couple weeks and wasn't. And now she's in the top, and understandable. She did do well, but I actually thought Blue did better than her in the Snatch game. So she's going like, clearly I was the best. No, you did the same fucking joke over and over. Other people were just bad. That's what it was.
Yes. That, and it was the sucking up to RuPaul. Right? When RuPaul's like, that was a masterclass in how you do Snatch Game. I was like, she was just obsessed with you, which, don't get me wrong, it was fun, it was funny, it was entertaining. But if you talk about who is actually being funny and off the cuff, it was Blue. And you could tell by Michelle's reactions, because every time and this is so shade from the editors, but every time that Baga would do something and Michelle would just be like, staring at her, just deadpan, not laughing, and Ru is on the floor, which I get it. The whole point of Snatch Game is to make Ru laugh, but at the same time, like, 100% agree with you. I felt like Blue was funnier off the cuff, and it was just this like suck up thing that Baga was doing.
I didn't like Jujubee as Cher at all. Like, I understand that it was like, but I will say, because Scally and I were talking about this yesterday, the Cher cootery joke was pretty freaking awesome. But that's about it. Like, we were also talking, I didn't really connect this, but this was a really good point. There were rumors for a long time that Manila was on the season and not Juju. And it might be that she was a last minute replacement, which could explain maybe why she's just not in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
But
that does make sense.
I don't know. But also at this point, I'm kind of like, can we put her out of her misery? She's never been eliminated from Drag Race.
It's falling under Roxy Andrews category. Territory? Category?
Category is?
Territory. Yeah. No, because that's how it feels. It just feels like it's important for queens to leave when they don't have anything else to give, because we see what happens with like Silky, for example, that she ends up getting all this hate because she's kept in the competition, and whether or not it's the producers that are choosing to keep it or the queens that are choosing to keep her. But then again, go back to playing the game. I do not fault the queens for keeping in weaker competition. Blue legitimately said, I want to make the finale. And I'm sure she's doing the math with the top four. She's like, all right, look, if Pangina and Jimbo both have a slot, Janie has a slot, there's only one left, right? Or Baga has a slot, there's only one left. So she's like, I got to start eliminating queens so that I actually have the possibility to, get into that top. So I can't fault her for that. But at the same time, I'm looking at the next couple weeks and I'm like, what
I know. I will say this though. I have really enjoyed Blue Hydrangea this season. She has grown remarkably, and she has been safe or high every single week. She hasn't faltered yet. Her looks have been really good and strong. She's been delivering, and she made this move, which I kind of like a lot. I know a lot of people are really upset with her. I kind of was like, good on you. I think that's who I'm going to be rooting for. I also really like Janie, but I think Janie's like almost too subdued for this competition in a weird way. So I think that I'm going to root for Blue. I think that's who I'm going for.
I think so too. I think Blue and Mo probably would be the two for me. I was really excited when Blue was going to come back because her looks, I think sometimes the concept is kind of weird, but at least the execution is always really good. So I think that she's someone who didn't necessarily get her due in some of the other competitions, or because of the challenges, because, you have two super strong frontrunners. Like, I felt like her talent show was really good, but then because, you had Pangina and you had Jimbo, right? Like, she's just going to fall. So when she made the decision to cut Pangina again, I totally get it. I do wonder, how much am I in love with the queens cutting each other format?
Right.
I
don't think it made sense for this version of the show, because it's not even called an All-Stars, even though it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's true.
I feel like if you're going to do the Olympics of drag, it should be like, it's not like in the Olympics. Could you imagine if that's
my God. Yes. that they rate each
the
other.
The US would be voted out every time. And you know what? I'm here for that.
That would be the social strategiest of all the social strategy games. Oh my gosh, could you imagine?
It would
the
be
Olympics
amazing.
The contestants vote for each
We'd
other.
have like countries like Switzerland would be like, I'm not gonna vote. I'm neutral.
I'm neutral. Lord. Okay.
It'd
Well,
be
I think
so
we've stumbled onto a brilliant idea. Olympics committee, if you're listening, call us. Producer credits. We're here for it. All right. Well, I'll go cry about UK versus the world later. Anything else, Beth, about Drag Race?
Well, now I'm just realizing that because I said Blue, she's going to get eliminated this week because this boot order is tragic, except for Cheryl.
It's like, this is why people believe all of the conspiracy theories when it comes to Drag Race, because you have boot orders that look like this. In what universe would anybody think that Pangina would go out, that Jimbo would go out where they did, that Lemon would be the first one out, Cheryl going out second? Okay, that's believable.
I was like, that's fine.
I know.
Sorry, Cheryl.
I know.
Cheryl's just a really good queen off of Drag Race. And I don't mean that in a shady way. I mean that in like this is just not her gig, but she's a really good queen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Exactly. And again, you don't have to do the best on Drag Race to, be a great queen. So, okay, we shall see what happens when the queens are brought back next week. And we will be talking about UK versus the world again. And of course, episode 9 of US, which I think, what's the challenge? Oh, the DragCon panels.
The DragCon panels.
Yep. And Nicole Byer will be a guest judge. So I'm
still no Snatch Game.
Oh, I know. And UK just had it. So I'm like, okay, are we actually going to go down to 6 queens? Because, there's precedent for it. Are we going to get a different format? I don't know. But let's see. How many queens do we have left right now?
If production is rigging, right? Maybe next week is the Golden Bar. Double save Snatch Game with that amount of queens.
Maybe.
If they're rigging it. I don't think that they would like intentionally do that.
They can, and the thing is that they can do Snatch Game really with any number of queens. It's not like you have to have a certain number in order to do it. You can have a panel with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Imagine the pressure if it's 4. Like you have to always be on.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of exciting.
I don't want that. Could you imagine? That would be a gag. They waited until the final challenge to do Snatch Game.
Final 5. That's the one that gets you into
the finals. Or you're in the finals and no more writing of lyrics or anything like that. You have to do Snatch Game.
Ooh, I like that. Except I want somebody to go home for it. So if they're going to do a traditional top 4, then it has to be at 5. So then someone actually goes home. But
I also am fine with them going back to a top 3.
Yes, same. Big same. But then we can't do the lip sync.
I don't care about that because I don't like it.
At least you're consistent.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, that does it for us. We gave our plugs earlier, so you can follow me on Twitter at Liana RHAP. You can follow Beth at AugustaWind11. And look, you want to leave your star ratings and reviews for us on iTunes? You know you do. So go on over to robhasawebsite.com/drag race where you can give us your feedback. And also, it is the start of the month, almost, depending on when you're listening to this. So we're recording. Okay, that's a new 2 white feet. Yeah.
Your heads and tails above the...
We are recording this on the 27th of February, but if you were listening to this at the beginning of March, wow, what a great time to become a patron of RHAP. Because you know what? That slop show that I mentioned earlier, where we talked about everything from Celebrity Big Brother, that is available to patrons only. There are so many perks in addition to that show that become with being a patron. You have access to our patron group on Facebook, on Discord. There are special events and activities that are only available to patrons. There are shows that are only available to patrons, including the Patron 5 for 5, which is the funniest podcast I have ever listened to in my entire life. It is Rob and Nicole just answering questions and being themselves, and their dynamic is literally something to aspire to. It is what I want for my relationship in my life. And you only get that when you are a patron of RHAP. So if you are interested, go over to patreon.com/RHAP or robhasawebsite.com/Patreon to check that out. Thank you to Scott St. Pierre for all your help behind the scenes, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.